introduction, your name, your school, and your stage in love journey. I'm gonna start with myself. My name is Amir. I'm a student at UC San Diego, also majoring in international political science and business technology. I'll pass it to Tanaz.
Hi guys, my name is Tanaz. I just graduated from UCSD, majoring in political science and data analytics. And I'm also a pre-law student and hoping to apply by this year or this upcoming year.
Hello, my name is Nika. I'm also a pre-law student. I'm a graduate student from UCSD, business econ major. Let's move on to Sam.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I am a law student, but in my undergrad I studied political science, and I'm very excited to be here and talk with you all. I'll pass on over to Aliyah.
Hi everyone, my name is Aliyah Kazemaini. I am a third year law student also at UCLA. I studied political science in undergrad as well at UCLA, so go Bruins. I'll pass it on to Nikki.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki. I am a student here at UCLA. I'm a senior studying political science, and I'm on the pre-law track. And I'm really excited to be here today. And I will pass it along to whoever's next.
I think that's it for the introductions, right?
I think we have more if you want. Like Mihran, we have Miriam and
Okay, yeah,
Jamil.
go ahead.
Green. I'm not right.
Hello, my name is Mehran. I'm a transfer senior student majoring in political science and history, planning to apply in the upcoming year for law school. I'm gonna pass it to if anybody else want to introduce themselves.
Yeah, sure. I could go. Hey guys, my name is Zach Borjani. I'm a third year student at UCLA studying political science, but also minoring in data science engineering and public health. I am on the pre-law track, and I do plan on applying during I believe it would be the 2026-2027 cycle. Yeah. I can pass it on to whoever wants to speak now.
I could go ahead and introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Turi Samiri. I'm also a UCLA student in my third year, studying business economics with a minor in public affairs. I'm on the pre-law track. I'm kind of undecided when I'm going. Probably going to take a gap year, but just really excited to hear what everyone has to say today.
I was gonna go as well. My name is Al Green. I'm a first year political science student, also on the pre-law track, and I'm also just really excited to get to hear all the wonderful insight.
Okay. Just quick note, Niki may need to step out early because of another commitment. I'd like to hand the floor over to Tanas to start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. So, I heard a lot of good things from you, Niki. So, I wanted to ask you a few questions today. My first question, which I think all of us can relate to, is how did you manage stress or pressure during your studies while at UCLA?
Hi, Tanaz. Thank you for such a good question. Well, immediately I have to pray to God. I can't emphasize that enough. I believe faith is really important, especially during times of stress and pressure, and it will help you more than you realize. And of course, doing hobbies that you enjoy as well. I like dancing and I love dancing. I try to make time, and keep my body healthy and also keeping my soul and spirit healthy as well.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like no matter how busy you can get with school, as long as you find one thing that can kind of, get your thoughts away from school and give you a break, would be great. And I feel like dance really does that for people who love to do it. Was there ever a time you doubt your path or and how did you move forward from it?
So far, I haven't doubted my path. Although I'm a pre-law student, I have a lot to learn ahead of me. I'm a senior and I'm looking forward to going to law school, and I know my scope of learning is going to be much more, um, and being open to different areas of law. So as of now, I haven't doubted my path. Thank God.
That's great to hear. And I do want to pass it down to Nika to see if you like to ask questions to our other guests as well, so that we can kind of have everyone engaged and move forward.
Thank you, Tanaz. I wanted to thank everyone for being here today, and especially Sam and Aliyah, because I know you guys are really busy with law school finals, and I know your time is very limited. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to hear about both of your backgrounds and your academic journey a little bit.
Sure, Aliyah, do you want to go first?
No, please, you first.
تعارف نکن با من.
No تعارفing, no تعارفing.
Who's going first?
I'll go. Sam and I are good friends. We both go to UCLA together. We both run the Iranian Law Student Association together. So this kind of report, it's gonna keep going back and forth if we let it. Um, in terms of just kind of our academic backgrounds, I did political science. I kind of always knew I wanted to go into the legal career, and I didn't have an idea of what that meant when getting into law school, though. I didn't know what the world of law looked like. I didn't know that there was anything beyond arguing in court because that's all I ever saw on TV. But it was actually once I was in law school and learning about the practice of law that I really was able to hone in on my own practice and find a path towards intellectual property litigation that I am currently pursuing. And in general, I have always tried to be involved in the school as much as possible, whether it be like student government or just our different affinity groups. So that has been a way of like balancing both the academic side of me and as well as the advocacy side of me. It's always been distilled down to a mantra of like wanting to be the best advocate I can in any space I can be, and that has really like pushed my efforts further in the legal career. But now to
Did you
pass.
always know that you wanted to go to law school as soon as you started your bachelor's?
Yes, I am one of very few people, I would say, that knew what they wanted to do at the young age of 5. I had
Mhm.
early exposure to the legal world, given like just a wills and estate dispute amongst family members. I think many people can probably have similar stories of families fighting over land. But it was from that that like solidified my initial interest in the legal field and just like advocating for people and for their actual rights when the system is kind of working against them. But it was founded in a very kind of stubborn effort of like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just pursue that path of law forthright, and I've just kind of continued ever since. So pursued political science because I thought that that's the best way of getting into law school. Spoiler alert, it's a common way. It's not the best way, but happy to talk about that a little bit more. But it just was, what can I do to get to law?
Okay, that's really cool. We'll get back to you on that. What's the best way? But yeah, now let's have Sam talk about his background a little bit, please.
Sure. So, in terms of my background, I knew I wanted to do law, but I was also interested in seeing other professions and seeing if that would interest me. And I'm happy I did because after reflecting on that, law is way cooler. I'm sure Aaliyah and I will give you all the shout out and why to do law, but every profession, if that's what makes you happier, please do that. I didn't really have a background into law. My major was political science. I also went to UCLA, and there were some law courses available, like international law, which I believe is still being taught now, and business law, which is also, I think, being taught. So you can take those courses as like a primer into it, but it's not going to be like a major or concentration that's available. Um, I also took like some programs that help prepare you for law school. AT&T randomly like has like this program for law school readiness. And I did that my summer before law school, and that helped prepare me a little bit. But other than that, I didn't have a background in law other than those academic experiences. I did some professional and internship activities as well. But in terms of academic experiences, that was mainly my background.
Okay, thank you. Aliyah, I know you talked about like the best way of preparing to go for law school, and I want to ask both of you this question about, I know a lot of us here now are pre-law students, and a lot of people watching this are going to be pre-law students. So what are some like of the best advice you guys have for pre-law students? What is something that if you could go back and tell yourself you would when you were applying to law school?
Yeah, great question. I did hint at that like political science is not necessarily the best way, but I don't think that there is a best way. There's a lot of common pathways to law, but there's also a lot of non-traditional pathways to law. Something that I wish I had really allowed myself to explore was other jobs. The way that Sam was talking about, he had the opportunity of being able to experience other types of the field of adult world in general. I wish I did a little bit more of that because it's experience that makes law school better. I've noticed amongst my friends those that go straight from undergrad to law school versus those that took a couple of gap years, pursued a different profession, did a different career entirely, and then went to law school, come with a different sort of knowledge and have a fully different experience of law school in and of itself. I myself only took one gap year, and I did do a legal internship during that gap year, so it's still very legal focused. But I wish I allowed myself to pursue something in the more creative fields. I want to do intellectual property, but I want to do it for creative. So having background maybe in film or maybe in fashion could have allowed me to connect to clients a little bit better and be able to pursue the advocacy efforts in more of like an insider front rather than an outsider trying to tell you what to do. I think the best advice I ever can give is if you have an interest in something in addition to law, allowing yourself to explore that interest and not hearkening yourself into this one space of, okay, if it's law, it can only be law because the law touches all fields. And I'm certain with whatever experience that you gain, you're going to be able to apply it to law.
That's really cool. I've never heard that perspective, but it's really great. Sam, can we hear your opinion about this?
Yeah, one advice that I would give this is especially true if money is a concern because law school is insanely expensive, is to really, if you want to get a high scholarship, one of the best ways to do that is to focus on your GPA and LSAT score. For the LSAT, I didn't focus on it as much as I wanted to, and I think if I had gotten a higher score, I might have had a better chance to get more of a scholarship to go here. And that's not just at UCLA, that's at all the law schools. And I would really, really tell you to start early because I thought I could do it sooner, or I thought I didn't need as much time, but I was very wrong. It took 6 months of full studying for me to get a score that I felt was good enough to apply to UCLA. But maybe if I studied longer and got a higher score, I could have gotten more of a scholarship to go. And that's something that I really want students and people thinking about this to know going in. If there's any way you could increase your LSAT or GPA, that's going to be something that will help you in getting a nice scholarship, a nice merit based as well, that will help dramatically reduce the financial burden and allow you to pursue a career that you want to do because many people like doing like a big law is the term of like going to work at one of these very large law firms, but some people do that because they are really in debt and need to pay off their debt soon. So to have the most flexibility in doing what you want to do, it's better to go there debt free. The way to do that, one very good way to do that is focus on your GPA. Just like a pro tip for the UCLA students here, or I don't know if this applies to US UCSD, but I know at UCLA, an A and A plus is the same, like for your GPA. So I didn't care about this like my first year because I wasn't thinking about applying. But in my second year, I like went on the LSAC website, and I believe it's still the same now, where an A plus on the LSAC, which is what you use to apply to law schools, is 4.3 or some maybe a little bit higher. But at UCLA, an A plus and an A is still both a 4.0. So it may not matter to like for you now, but it can help boost your GPA if you get an A plus. So if like that's a possibility for you to work a little extra hard for that, please do. It will help. So that's something I highly stress is to really try to get the best LSAT and GPA score possible so you can get a lot of financial aid and merit scholarships.
That's great advice because law school is very expensive. So I want to hand it back to Tanaz, and I also want to let you guys know that we want this to be an interactive session. So if any of our other guests have any questions, please raise your hand, and you can have questions for any of our members, like guests. Thank you. Tanaz, you're mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Nika. Before I get to asking questions from Niki, I also want to mention that I was also one of the people that wasn't aware of the fact that an A plus matters a lot more in calculating your like LSAT GPA versus just a UC's GPA. UC San Diego, I believe, is also an A, and an A plus doesn't really matter. So in my first year, I was just like, okay, as long as we get to an A, like I'm happy with this. Like an A plus would be great, but it's just not my goal. And right as I was graduating, it's when I started being a lot more serious about looking up for all the informations for different law schools and see like how they're being calculated, what the acceptance procedures are like. And once I realized that an A plus is at like a 4.3 versus a 4, I had wished someone told me this a lot earlier. So to anyone who is still doing their undergrad, now you know this information if you didn't, and I know that it's going to help you guys so much. So use it to your advantage and best of luck. So now my questions to Niki. One question I have from you is how has mentorship or networking helped you in your growth while um, in your undergrad?
Yes, mentorship and networking is always important, and it has really helped me with my growth. Actions speak louder than words. When you simply see like mentors or people that you look up to and you see the way that they're carrying themselves, you learn so much. So just by that, like when I see how attorneys or judges and when I see how they speak and how they carry themselves and the knowledge and wisdom they share, it goes such a long way. Um, and throughout like mentoring and networking, a lot of people want internships, they want to get more involved, they want to stay connected. But remember that when one door closes, another door opens. Don't be discouraged if you don't see results right away. It's certainly delayed gratification, and it will help you in the long run, whether you're networking with attorneys or judges or even your own classmates. Remember how you treat other people. Remember how you treat your own classmates and your own peers, because one day you're going to be working alongside them. And I have learned so much from Aliyah and Sam and seeing law students and seeing what they've done so far. I think that in itself is mentoring too, mentorship. And hopefully, when I'm in their position and when I reach the goal of becoming an attorney, I hope to give back and also become a mentor and help in any way I can.
Yeah, I agree. And have you been interning or working at any law firm while finishing your undergrad? And if so, what was the experience like? And also, how were you able to find those internships or those job opportunities? Because as someone who was also applying to, law firms while in my undergrad, I found it a struggle because when I was applying, I noticed that if you didn't have a lot of things in your resume, then a lot of law firms would kind of just look past your resume and not really look into the type of research you have been doing while at school, or not necessarily considering your GPA, because I believe that you don't always have to have so many things written on your resume. Sometimes only, the few works that you've even done can help you in finding a job that fits for yourself. It may sometimes take a long time, but eventually you get there. as you mentioned, once one door, closes, another opens, and I really agree with that. So, how were you able to find any internships or jobs?
Yeah, I have to take this advice for myself. So currently I'm actually waiting. I got a follow-up interview and actually I'm waiting on the results and the status of a government position that I applied to. But right now, I am focusing on school and especially the Persian Pre-Law Association. Being president, it's a big commitment. That in itself, I treat it like a full-time job and I love it. But I am in the waiting process and focused on my schoolwork as well as the club and the LSAT as well. So I definitely wouldn't have people or students compare themselves because sometimes it's hard not to compare yourself. You see people doing a lot of amazing things, but you have to understand everyone's timeline is different. And if you keep on working and you keep on working towards your goal, be confident that you will reach there no matter what. So that's the advice I have to share.
Well, that's a great advice. Thank you. And how do you see law students contributing to justice or society today?
Yes. Well, law students right here, Aliyah and Sam, they have contributed so much. I just really admire their openness to collaborate with clubs such as the Persian Pre-Law Association. We started our partnership last year. And just seeing their leadership and seeing how they have contributed and how much they're involved in seeking out internships and working in different areas and being open to even changing the area of law that they want to get into. And just by their character, you can tell how they will treat others and especially treat those they want to help as they become future attorneys. So I'm very confident they will help serve justice to their clients.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. I know that you have another obligation at 5:30, so you have to leave shortly. So I'm just going to ask one last question from you before we have to say goodbye. What message would you share with students who feel uncertain about their future or even their decision of um, determining whether or not they want to apply to law school and commit all those years to it?
If you're uncertain about your future, put yourself out there. Get out of your comfort zone. Just get involved in clubs and communities that truly interest you. I think that's the best thing you can do, especially in moments when you're uncertain, because you're not just going to sit there and be like, okay, I'm uncertain. What do I do? No, get yourself out there, get involved. There's so many people who are also in the same page as you. And then you guys can also talk about how you both want to grow and reach certain areas and goals that you have. So uncertainty is something so normal and so many students talk about. You just have to be okay to get out of your comfort zone and just get involved.
Thank you so much, Niki, for sharing your journey and experiences with us. We really appreciate your time, and we understand that it's so important for, students both in pre-law and even in law school to just really hear all these different perspectives and mindsets when it comes to wanting to commit to law school or any other career for that matter as well. I think it's important for students to understand that sometimes, even though their perspective might not be as common or heard of, there are people who are going through the same path or experiences. And I feel like this is a safe and, open platform for all students to share their experiences and really give each other the advice we need in pursuing this step and important stage of our lives. And with that, I want to conclude. Thank you so much for being here today, even though you have another event to get to. So I don't want to keep you for that long. I'm going to pass it down to Nika to see if she would like to also mention and say goodbye to you before we leave. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope we get to do this again.
Thank you, Nikki, and have a good night.
Thank you so much for having me. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night. Okay, so now I want to shift the conversation more towards like actual like experience in the law school. So I want to ask you guys about how you manage your time in law school, how you deal with burnout. I know a lot of people that haven't gone to law school yet are very scared about cold calling. What was your experience in that? Let's start with Aliyah.
I will have to say, so to first address the cold calling, don't be afraid of it. Especially at UCLA, every professor is honestly just trying to carry the conversation going. If no one's getting cold called, no one's raising their hand sometimes, or you have like people that are always raising their hands. So, for the most part, I've never been in a class where cold calling was used against me. It's not like Legally Blonde where you have to read the footnotes, and if you don't answer correctly, it impacts your grade. But like stipulation, there are professors that it will count as your participation, whether or not you're prepared. As long as you come prepared and you give a good, solid effort at like answering the question, most professors will try to help you through the answer if they think like you're not actually there. So it's nothing to be scared of. Just be studious. Everyone here is studious. Everyone reads. You just read, you keep up with your readings. And when it's in class, most of the time, they let you know beforehand if that you're on call for that day. So being on call means like they can question you all day that day. So you'll know what the cases are, you'll know what the readings are. I've had only one professor where it was completely random and blind, so I just made sure to keep up with the readings. And in terms of burnout, I think what has helped me, I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't experience moments of burnout while in law school and questioning, like, is this even my path? It is. It is your path. I think in my first year in particular, that's notoriously one of the hardest years because you have a lot more uh, like graded things on the forefront. It's something in UCLA, we have memos, legal memorandums that you have to write. That is a very specific type of writing. And those deadlines are just coming back to back to back as you have like 200 pages of reading a week. And balancing that is definitely different than trying to balance your coursework in undergrad. What I was able to do was not only having a good support system in the school, I made friends with a lot of people in my section, which in law school, you're kind of back in kindergarten where everyone has the same exact schedule and you have the same exact people with that same schedule for the entire week. I got to see these people multiple times a week, became close friends with them. We would do our readings together. We would share notes together. We would have little brainstorming discussions after class to be like, did you understand that? Did you know what the teacher meant by that? Have you done this hypothetical? And also, outside of that, which was the support in the legal system, was having a community outside of law school. So much of law school is just law, and all your law friends, no matter how great they can be, also are dealing with just law. You need people outside of that, whether that be your family, whether that be your hometown friends, whether that be the person you see at the grocery store every time you go and buy milk. Like, you need something outside of your day to day and outside of your common routine that gets your head out of that world. Um, and so I had that in the space of the sports I was doing. I was doing self-defense classes. I was also taking a Persian book club, and I was also doing like Persian instrument classes. And then I also had other organizations I was also just a part of and just sitting on that helped me get my legal brain and my human brain outside of each other. And that helped really root me in who I was, reminding myself that I'm strong, I can do this. I've done so much of school. I know how this works and getting through the day to day without getting lost in the weeds.
Thank you. Sam, how about you? How do you manage your time? Are you scared of cold calling?
Hi, I would definitely say the fear for cold calling is overhyped. Um, there's nothing to be afraid about. Even like my year, we had a very strict professor in one of our classes who was known for doing his cold calls. But the reality is, most courses, at least at UCLA, don't grade cold calling. So like, it doesn't matter if you don't know the answer, if you say the wrong answer. Like Aliyah was saying, it's just, are you trying? Or, and to be honest with you, I've seen a lot of students who say like, just will simply say, Professor, I don't know the answer, or like, I didn't read. And the professor will just say, okay, and we'll ask somebody else. So it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I've heard that before. I've done it before. Nobody has ever told me like, "Oh my God, Sam, like how did you not know?" Like you're a failure as like a human now because you couldn't do the cold call. And I haven't heard anybody else like talk about that to others who have said the same. So don't stress about that. It's really just there for you to try your best and see if you understand the material. For time management, I like to use three tools. You may or may not know them, but if you do, like great, feel free to use them. If you don't, feel free to look into this after. The first tool I love to use is the Gmail snooze button. That's excellent when you get emails for things that you need to respond to or things that you need to do or events you need to attend, but you don't want to see it on your email like right now. You can just press the snooze button. It'll come to the top of your inbox at whatever time you set that to. So that's excellent. I love to use that. I love to use Google Calendar, set in like major things I need to do, like if there's a memo I need to write, if there's an assignment that needs to get done, to see it on the month view on the calendar. It's a great way to see like, okay, what do I need to do this month? And you can set in any like personal appointments to like therapy or whatnot, just so you get a better idea of what's going on. And then three, the third tool is the reminders app. That's excellent too. And like setting minor things that you need to do, like, I don't know, buy groceries or like put gas in your car, like minor things. But like when you're in like the throe of law school, you might like not you'll not have as much time to like sit and think about the things that you need to do. So having that reminders app can help you if like you get really busy and forget about something non-law related that you need to get done that day, and it will help you. I just use the regular reminders app on my iPhone. So those are the ways I manage my time.
Yeah, that was great advice. I think when you have a lot going on, just like writing things down or having reminders just helps you like empty some of your brain space and like be able to focus on other things. I want to go back in time a little bit again. Do you guys have some advice on the application process for law school, recommendation letters, personal statements? Do you guys remember what you wrote your personal statement on?
Yeah, in terms of applications, like when to even apply, most law schools are on a rolling basis. And if you're looking into applying, you probably know this, but it's not just for getting into the school, it's also a lot of times for scholarship considerations too. When Sam was mentioning, like, get the highest LSAT score you can get a better scholarship. Applying earlier can also help with getting scholarships as well for certain schools. UCLA doesn't actually utilize that, which is really nice. But they do have two major deadlines. Is in like November, middle of November, and the other is middle of December. And those are for full tuition scholarship considerations. Certain schools have different deadlines. So the sooner you apply, the more likely you are to able to tap into those full tuition scholarships. Other than that, anytime before, I would say, like the New Year season, anytime before January is a way stronger chance of getting into the law schools because those seats are filling up as the applications are open. But that's not to say people don't get in. One of my best friends, who is truly the smartest person I know at the law school, she applied late February and got in. So it really can be a case by case basis. But if you're really trying to stack your odds, the sooner you apply, the better. But apply with the strongest application you can. If you feel like you can have a stronger application, take that chance, get that stronger application in. And in terms of the my application and my story for letters of rec, I was always going to office hours in undergrad, so I established good rapport with my professors to the extent that I was able to ask professors from my prior school. I was a transfer student from UC San Diego to UCLA, and I messaged my first year UC San Diego English professor to write my letter of recommendation, and she was more than willing to do such. And I also asked my supervisor at the time at the legal internship I was working at to write a letter of recommendation as well for me. Um, but a lot of times, some letters of rec people, I would say, like, if you don't know someone off the back of your hand that can pick you out from a crowd, go to office hours. Go make yourself known. If it's as simple as asking one question about a lecture, that can be the difference between a yes or a no when you ask them, can you write my letter of recommendation? And it could also be people outside of the academic space, but schools, if you are going K through JD or maybe only one gap year, they do really prefer you to talk to your academic professors to talk on your behalf rather than someone of a work experience. But the farther you are away from law school, the more lenient law schools are about getting a supervisor or someone that you work with right on your behalf. And my personal statement was really about my dual identity and dealing with that both in like the college setting and in the personal setting and what I did to combat that. So for me, it was when I was at UC San Diego, working closely with AP Meta, which is the Asian Pacific Islander Middle Eastern Desi American Resource Center, helping them get an actual physical standing structure rather than before it was just a conference room in like Kathmandu of International House, if anyone knows the area. But working with that and then also working with the Dean of Student Affairs to allow Middle Eastern Studies to automatically apply for history, GEs. So these were like little things I did that I was like, okay, if I had this when I was in school, it would have been much easier to pursue Middle Eastern studies. It would have been much easier to see my identity outside of the textbooks or and actually being lifted up. So I was really hearkening on that. And then when I went to UCLA, all the efforts I did there, when I was in Pan-Hellenic, I was in sororities, but I was in the position as the Associate Director for Equity, Diversity, and Intersectionality. And a lot of my work was working on Title IX infractions and getting fraternities and sororities more up to date on what it means to be diverse, equity, like bring in equity and bring in intersectionality. And also working with the Office of the President's Diversity, Equity, Intersectionality Division. A lot of my story was what did I wish I saw when I was in school, and what did I do to fix that? I don't know how much of my legacy still remains, but at least I know that I was able to put one Lego block in the building blocks of life, or whatever the saying is. But so much of it, in terms of your personal statement, just has to do with what is your story? It doesn't have to be so created to so crafted to be, oh, I know everything about the law and you should accept me into law school because I will be the best law student. It's just, why do you have an interest? Why are you curious? Why are you curious about learning even? What have you done in your communities? How are you a member that helps a community? Because especially at UCLA, they want to see how you'll be a contributing member of their community, how you'll be someone that they can be proud to stamp as a UCLA law student. So when you write your personal statements, having that in the back of your mind of like, how have I been a villager in this village? How have I been able to create rather than reminisce? And letting that guide your story of why law.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. What about you, Sam?
Hi, I would focus on there are three things that I want to focus on: applications, recommendations, and the personal statement. For that application, it's a great thing to go to the events. Like they always host, every law school will host their own admission event. A lot of them are virtual too, so it's very low effort on your end. Just show up or like join the Zoom link. Some of them do take notes on like who actually attends. Like, did you come to this event? And I don't know how much of a weight that has, but the fact that they're like taking notes on that says something. You could also, it's also useful to use that because you can also write a why X school essay. And once you write a why X school essay, you can directly talk about the admissions event you went to and what you learned and why that made you excited to attend that specific school. It comes across as more credible that you want to go there because you're going to their events and you're meeting their professors and students and learning about what that school is like. So that's what I'd recommend for the application. Two, for the letters of recommendation, I think Aliyah pretty much comprehensively uh, discussed that. All I would add to that is to say, even after your recommender agrees to write your letter, I would say you should still meet with them and talk with them. And the benefit of that is that before they write your letter and you talk to them, they're going to know about who you are as a person, what you want to accomplish, and that'll be more effective when they're writing their letter of recommendation. Ideally, it would be nice if you gave them your personal statement too after they've agreed to serve as your recommender because they'll have those notes that will help them write their letter whenever they want to do that. So if you can do that, that's the best. If not, maybe a draft or outline, but I would recommend at least doing a meeting and maybe some outline if you can prepare that as well. For the personal statement, that's the last topic I will discuss is for what I wrote about was seeing how I saw a lawyer could create positive change for me and those around me. And so that's the topic I wrote about. But like Aliyah was saying, there are many ways to write a personal statement. And this is just like my take on it. Something that I think is nice in a personal statement is when it sounds like a story that's being communicated to you instead of more of like a cover letter, which explains like these are my experiences and this is why I'm like excellent for this law school. I think it's nicer to sound like a story because it makes you sound unique and it can you can give you could give your authentic voice to the admissions office. So it's a great way to stand out. And the best way I try to describe this to people is like sort of imagine some book that you really like, some fiction book, the introduction or the first couple sentences of that book. It doesn't tell you like this book is about X, Y, and Z topic. It's like trying to create an image in your head. So that's what I would recommend for your personal statement too, is try to create an image in the reader's head of like some situation or something that inspired you to want to pursue law. And really, I think another good thing that a personal statement should do, and this is just my take, is that it should answer two questions. One is that why you want to do law. And you don't have to say like, I want to do law because of X, Y, and Z reason. Like there is a way you can communicate that without saying, I want to do law. Like saying, seeing the lawyers create positive change around me inspired me to take X, Y, and Z action. And that's why I know that law school is like the perfect thing for me to do. Like that's communicating why law. And then the second question to answer is why law now? Like, sure, you have an interest, but why do you need to pursue law school now instead of maybe later? So if you can answer those two questions, like get the reader to understand that you answered that question without explicitly saying it, I think would be excellent for a personal statement.
Thank you, guys. I think the advice you guys gave was really good to make a candidate sound unique and like really highlight their personal journey. And I think your advice about going to the events is very smart because you have something to say and you have like an evidence of how you're like interested in their school and you already put an effort in. That was amazing. Yeah. Tanaz is going to ask us the last question. I'll
Thank you
pass it
for
on to
that.
him.
Yes, so the last question I have, I think it's a question that oftentimes a lot of law students, they just want to ask whoever that is either in law school or, have graduated and are lawyers now. I know with each top tier law schools, whether it's a UC law school, it's an Ivy, it's a private law school, they have specific criteria as whether it's your personal experiences, internships, personal statements, GPA, LSAT score, your life outside of school. There's always one thing that schools tend to really, really prioritize over everything else. And I feel like they almost are trying to see if this new student has this on their application. And that's the one thing that makes them stand out. And oftentimes that could be something like it could be your personal statement that they prioritize. It could be the work you've done and the contributions you've made to your community or society that prioritize. So my last question for both of you is based on your experience of applying to UCLA and attending the law school, what would you say is the one thing out of all these different factors that UCLA Law School tends to really, really prioritize over everything else?
So with UCLA in particular, I've had many of discussions with the like admissions team just to like kind of gauge what's gone on. I had a very different experience than a lot of people where I got in 2 days after applying. And that kind of expediency is I haven't heard of. And so I was trying to figure out what's going on. And from what I can say, there's not just one thing, but it's a combination. But kind of in short, your LSAT score opens the door, your personality gets you the seat. So I think, especially at a school like UCLA, they really do care who their cohort is. They really do care what you're writing in your personal statements because that's their only insights into you and who you are. I know many of people in my own cycle that got the same scores as I did, and they didn't get into UCLA. They just had a different personal statement. They had a different personality than what UCLA was looking for at that time. So yes, especially with the T14s, they do prioritize LSAT scores, but that's not the only thing. If you can make a story, as Sam said, write a story, write your story, write a narrative, make it something interesting to read. UCLA really does look at that and they take that into heavy consideration.
Thank you. And what would you say, Sam?
Yeah, this is a hard question for me to answer. I don't even think UCLA admissions will say the answer to this question. Um, but I, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know. I'm not going to say something that I don't know the
Just
answer.
based off, your own personal experience. It's not something that like, one of the admission committees have, said like this is what will get students in. But like based on your personal experience, what do you think is like something that they really took from your application and said, wow, this person, is has what everything that we're looking for into, having him be part of our community. So what's that one thing that you would say?
I think for me, what got me in was probably my personal statement because my LSAT score was not high. Like if you can compare the medians and like see what the percentiles are, and mine was below the median. So I know definitely it wasn't my LSAT that got me in. So I think my personal statement is a place where like I was able to show the person who I am and what I wanted to contribute. And I think that's good advice for anyone who's like not at the 50 percentile range, but still is very excited to apply to a school. Is that you can show that through your personal statement, through an addendum, like saying why you want to go to that school. That helps.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming tonight and joining us. And a special thank you to Aliyah and Sam for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences with us. We truly appreciate it. And for everyone that's on this Zoom tonight and listening, I hope you all got to really gain something from tonight's panel. And also, it's a great reminder that, as Sam mentioned just right now, that don't be really discouraged by, your LSAT score or the research that you put into these schools. Sometimes, you might not have the best GPA or the best LSAT score, but you may have something that they have not, the admissions, they have not really found it, and they would still try to look into you and get you and give you that opportunity to really show yourself and do the interview process and really have a chance. So I think what Sam said gives me reassurance too that like, once I take the LSAT, I have sometimes, a lot of high expectations of myself. And that's a great reminder that even if I, end up not having the best LSAT score that I'm expecting myself to get, I'm not going to just be discouraged and say I'm not going to apply to UCLA or any other school for that matter because of what the median is or what it's stated online. So I hope you all can use the conversations we had tonight as a great reminder to not give up and really pursue what you love to do. And don't get discouraged. If you get discouraged, just use it to your advantage to do a lot more research to it. I feel like you only fail if you don't try. So keep trying. And again, thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight. And I hope we can all do this again very soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Have a good
Have a
night.
good day.